On this episode of Locked On Lightning, we're breaking down the loss from tonight's game against the Caps, talking about Hagel extending his point streak, and wrapping things up with some lack of depth talk. All that coming up and more on Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to another episode of Locked On Lightning, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Adam Danker. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Locked On Lightning. Tonight, we're talking about the loss to the Capitals. That's 3 in a row that the Lightning have dropped, and all 3 are at home. So just not good things happening for the Tampa Bay Lightning in their last 3 games. We break down Hagel's point streak. It's up to 11 now. How far can it go? We talk about his impact with the team as well. And then we wrap things up with some lack of depth that continues to plague the Tampa Bay Lightning, especially late in games. We're bringing that all down tonight. Before we get into all that, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Give us a follow wherever podcasts are distributed in audio form. We're also available on our YouTube channel. Go ahead, subscribe there. Drop a comment below, get in on the conversation, hit that thumbs up button, hit the notification button as well. So as soon as the newest episode drops, you'll be notified. And that goes for the audio form as well. You could also join in on the conversation elsewhere. We're also on Discord now as well as Reddit. See the description below for more details on that. So we're talking about tonight's game, which was yet another disappointment for the Tampa Bay Lightning, as well as us who do support this team. The Lightning dropped this one 5-3, get off to a slow start. And, no surprise there. They make a comeback, a very valiant one, late in the game. When I say late, I mean mostly the third period. And it looked like, all things were turning their way, especially when Dylan Strome scored that goal. Cooper challenges, the play gets called back on the Mantha offsides. Looks like the momentum is starting to swing for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And unfortunately, that did not happen. The Capitals end up scoring one, making it 4-3, and then we get the empty netter at the end to put the final nail in the coffin. And, I understand some things happened in this game tonight, as well as the Lightning are down pretty badly in terms of just missing personnel. Obviously, we all know at this point in time, Sergachev is not coming back at any point soon, probably not this season. The Lightning would have to probably go to the Stanley Cup final to see him back this season. And then you have Hayden Fleury go down on and I know there's going to be some people, whether it be on social media or wherever, saying just because it was Tom Wilson, it was a clean hit. Just Tom Wilson just lined him up perfectly, and Fleury got bulldozed into the boards. That happened, and the Lightning were pretty much down from there to where they had to play their whatever they had left on the back end, more minutes than they probably would have liked to in this one. And then, it was just a game in which, quite honestly, the Lightning did not do a good job in really the aspects of the game that are really their biggest strengths. They did not do well in the faceoff circle tonight. They were thoroughly outplayed in that part of the game. They were under. They didn't even get to 45% on the faceoff circle. The Capitals actually just completely dominated that part. Other than that, really, I mean, if we want to go into shots, the Lightning had more there. Other than that, I mean, really, the other issue I had with this that I think really we could say with real confidence contributed to the Lightning losing this one was they're playing the neutral zone. Just not good at all. They were also getting bullied along the boards in the neutral zone, out of the neutral zone. I didn't see a lot of creativity to their game tonight. I thought they were very stale on their sequences. I thought they were very rigid. Um, you saw that the Capitals, and I will tip my hat to the Capitals. They did play well tonight. Charlie Lindgren did play a pretty good game in net for the most part. At the same time, I think that really what the Lightning failed to do in this game on the offensive side of things, other than the fact that they didn't score enough goals, was the fact that they weren't allowing themselves to get the puck in deep into the zone. You saw kind of from the get-go, especially as the game went on, the Capitals were kind of doing a very good job of getting in the face of the Lightning puck handlers. Really doing a good job of cutting off passing lanes, shooting lanes, um, really having a stranglehold on this team at the blue line as they entered the zone. There was very few times I felt as though that the Lightning were able to enter the zone and kind of have some time to breathe and set things up or kind of assess the situation that was going on in that zone. And Capitals did a good job of taking advantage of that, and they forced and especially that was something that the Lightning started to think about. You could tell as the game went on, and the Capitals took their chances in the neutral zone and they paid off and forced quite a few turnovers there, one of which led to a goal. And I really thought at the end of the day, or really at some point throughout the course of the game, we were going to see some sort of different play from the Lightning. I thought we were going to see maybe more of a dump and run kind of game. We did not see that. We haven't really seen that much this year. We've seen it here and there throughout the course of this season, but really, for the most part, we didn't. We all know by now the Lightning really live and die by two kind of um, styles of play, and that's just just the run and gun. Let's try and race them down the other side of the ice and get them on the odd man rush and cycling, which we didn't really see that whole. We did see it tonight, but the passing wasn't that good to where, in my mind, it really made a difference. I just think that at the end of the day, when the Lightning were cycling the puck and shooting it, there was very few times. I mean, there was a couple of sequences here and there in the second, couple of sequences here and there in the third, where Lindgren was challenged, and he did a good job of kind of standing tall there and staying in position. But the Lightning really didn't, in my mind, really. I didn't really see them challenge him. Yeah, they scored 3 goals, which is great, but I mean, at the end of the day, you gotta kind of, especially with what you got with Hagel and Cooch and Stamkos, y- and Paul, and I mean Sorelli. We could go on and list the usual suspects here, but I didn't see anything to where I could have came out of that and said, you know what, the Lightning did what they could tonight, and Lindgren was really the better on in that matchup. That wasn't the case. I mean, Lindgren played well, but I don't think he played spectacularly well. But yeah, that's really been the story for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not only over this last 3 games, but really the entirety of the season, where lack of creativity, not really playing well defensively. I will give them a little bit of a pass. Like I said, they were missing, and also Chernak was out tonight. He was sick, so you're missing that too. To all the Chernak haters, who are you gonna blame now? I I think that being down 2 guys on the night, 3 in general out of your normal rotation, I mean, that's nothing you could really turn away from and say that didn't play a big part in this game. The Capitals did end up losing TJ Oshie later in the game, but at that point, I don't think that played a big difference. Uh, Ovechkin didn't really hurt the Lightning tonight either. He was moving around quite a bit, which was interesting to see, and especially on the one-timer from the blue line. That was impressive. I would like to see the Lightning kind of do something like that with Stamkos. But overall, a disappointing night. The Lightning dropped their third straight, and just like someone on Twitter said, it's a weird kind of flip-flop that we have seen over the course of the week, where just over a week ago tonight, the Lightning beat the Colorado Avalanche, one of the best teams in the league, and now they're here dropping 3 games in a row, um, to Florida, to Ottawa, and now Washington, and now they find themselves in the second spot in the division, and luckily enough, um, the Red Wings were only able to win in overtime tonight, as well as the Capitals are still far away a ways from catching the Lightning right now. But the way the Lightning are playing, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that gap close up relatively quickly. And the Devils lost tonight as well. I believe the Islanders lost tonight as well. So those are really the only teams that we have to worry about right now. I mean, if we have to start worrying about Buffalo and Pittsburgh, we have a whole nother issue on our hands here. But yeah, another disappointing loss. The Lightning now are just, they have to tread water. They have to tread water, and they have to figure out ways to win. That's what good teams do. And we're going to figure out, especially with a couple of guys out. Chernak, I imagine, is going to be back in the lineup. Fleury, I would imagine, should be back in the lineup next game. But either way, like I said, good teams find ways to win, and we're going to figure out whether or not the Lightning are a good team or not. So coming up in just a little bit, we're going to talk about Brandon Hagel. Continuing to play well, continuing to show why he deserves to play full-time on that first line, regardless of the fact that John Cooper continues to move him out of that rotation. Coming up in just a little bit. But first, we're going to talk about our friends over at Ibotta, new sponsor and new friend. Now, grocery bills are so expensive these days, but now they don't have to be. Start getting cash back on your grocery shopping with the free Ibotta app and get cash back every time you shop. Do you love making money but also love spending money? Don't we all? Come on. Now you can make money when you spend it every time, and you shop with Ibotta. Spring break is around the corner, which means you're going shopping, but don't shop for your big trip and get nothing in return. Make sure you're getting cash back every time you shop with Ibotta. Now, if you don't know about Ibotta, Ibotta is a free app that gives the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. So right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONNHL when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL. So as always, I want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Give us a follow wherever podcasts are distributed in audio form. We're also available on YouTube, so go ahead and drop a comment below this video, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe to the channel. We love hearing from all of you. I love hearing from all of you. That's the one thing I can say. That is my favorite part about doing this podcast, is that all of you are very opinionated, as you should be. There's a lot going on with this team right now. That I think this is the most interesting season that we've covered on this show in quite some time. I think really, probably other than 2020. Really, there's a lot of storylines going on, and one of them, in my opinion, is something that is not being spoken about, because in hindsight or retrospect, it's really not something that is overall that important, or really should garner big news. But Brandon Hagel, for some reason, playing well, becoming a more complete player on a nightly basis, keeps getting shuffled up and down this lineup, which still to this day does not make any sense. Now, I spoke about it on yesterday's episode that he was slated to play on the third line, which, just checking back real quick, he was on the second line, with Point and Chafee, which I said in response to that Point and Hagel on the second line, that's just absolutely ridiculous. Point needs to play with Kucherov. Hagel has just, at this point, to exhaustion, proven I don't know what much more this guy could do to show that he deserves to be on the first line. Stamkos is having a good year, but his style doesn't necessarily mesh with Cooch. Or, yeah, I mean, the only way it meshes with Cooch is all he has to do is stand there and Cooch feeds him passes for one-timers. And the Sorelli the Sorelli placing on the first line, it's a nice touch. I like it. I don't think he's ready for that. I just think that the Lightning are not at that point right now, especially when you have Braden Point and Brandon Hagel um, playing at the levels that they are playing alongside Nikita Kucherov. I get the reasoning behind it. You want to spread the wealth a little bit, mix things up, but at the same time, I mean, Brandon Hagel is playing phenomenal hockey right now, and the fact that he is the fact that John Cooper continues to kind of play dangerously with that in terms of just moving him up and down the lineup. And I know that's not a set thing. I know that, as we all do, that John Cooper just loves to move guys up and down and change things throughout the course of a game. As we saw tonight, he got quite a good amount of ice time with Kucherov. But the guy's in the middle. He extended his point streak to 11 games. The guy is playing phenomenal hockey. Coming into tonight's game, he has 7 goals and 15 points. The fact that this guy continues to get played or at least start on the second line, it's really frustrating to see from, especially when things are not going well for this team. It's really frustrating because the one thing that I can say, and I know at this point some people are starting to catch on, but John Cooper sometimes, through his very successful tenure here, especially the last 4 seasons, and I will say the guy is still one of the best in the league. I'm not crushing, I'm not crapping on his credibility here, but at the same time, the guy sometimes gets or tries to be too smart for his own good, and that's just the nature of coaches in any sport. And what John Cooper likes to do, like I said, he likes to move things around, whether it be to start games or over the course of a game. And, you know, I'm sure to a certain extent, especially a guy like Brandon Hagel, who I think has proven, like I said, to exhaustion at this point in time, that he is a first line guy. He could play with one of the best in the league in Nikita Kucherov. I think that we need to start looking at him as a solid first line forward, especially now with Steven Stamkos and everything that's going on with this team. I don't understand why, if it ain't broke, why are you trying to fix it? And this guy, I think that the best way to give him more of more chances is to just have that overpowered offensive line that you have with him, with Point, with Kucherov, because I look at it as kind of a win-win situation, because when you have those three guys on the ice, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to focus on Kucherov, especially when he has the the puck, or they're going to focus on some other guys, whether it be Point or Hagel. So at the end of the day, someone's got to be open for a chance. Someone's going to be able to get a good opportunity to score. And at the end of the day, people are still going to accumulate points, especially someone who is as hot right now as Brandon Hagel. So I hope going forward, I hope after tonight's game, I hope after tonight's loss, which has just been really one of the roughest stretches I think I have seen in my time as a podcast host for Locked On Lightning. It's definitely one of the roughest stretches we have seen this team go through. I think that, especially with the remaining teams coming up, I think that when you're looking at the line changes, or when this Lightning team is approaching games or approaching situations, less is more. And when you have a guy like Hagel who is so multidimensional out there, I mean, they were talking about it on the ESPN broadcast throughout the game, just how he's He's one of those guys where he could score, but he could also be that guy. He could be a menace for your team, as we saw tonight. He was just really up in anyone's face that he came into contact with. And I think that really at the end of the day, what John Cooper should do, barring an injury, keep your lines the way they are. Roll out Cooch, Point, and Hagel and leave it like that. Because that situation, especially with the way Hagel's playing and the season Nikita Kucherov is having, that is going to produce points. The point production is going to be on automatic. And I think that is really something that has been overlooked by this coaching staff. So let me know in the comments below what you feel about that. Let me know on Reddit. Let me know on Discord. Like I said, we're all on there now. We're going to be posting more, probably at least once a day on Reddit. You definitely want to comment on those posts. Or if you want to go on Discord, that's the faster way, I guess, if you want to do that. I mean, I'm always checking all of them, especially for comments, and if there's a comment that we could respond to. If I have a response to it in real time, I'll get back to you right then and there. But yeah, I think that it's just something that I think is just being overthought about, and I think that really the Lightning, especially at this point in time, need to simplify things. So coming up in just a little bit, we're going to talk about lack of depth coming back to hurt this Lightning team, especially in the latter stages of this game. How do we remedy that? We talk about that coming up in just a bit. But first, let's wrap things up with our friends and sponsors over at Indeed. Now, we're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. One of the things I love, like I said, I have a friend who just opened up their own business. It was growing at a rate to which they became overwhelmed in the amount of work that they had before them, and they needed to hire fast. And not only did they need to hire fast, but they need to hire very high quality candidates who are right for the job. And I said, why don't you go ahead, use Indeed? He did, and he found some of the best people that you could possibly find for his logistics business. So you can too, because listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on Locked On Lightning. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. So one last time, I want to thank everybody for making us your first listen of the day. And if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Give us a follow wherever podcasts are distributed in audio form. We're also available on YouTube, so go ahead, drop a comment below this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you prefer to reach out to us in another way, like I said, we are on Reddit. We are also on Discord, so go ahead and get in on the conversation. Lots to talk about continuously with this team. If it's not just not playing well, it's lack of scoring. And really the thing that has really stuck out to, I think, a lot of people, let's be honest here, has been the lack of depth, especially later in games. It's been a very disappointing season. One of the things that the Lightning have not really had an issue with, I think, in the last couple of years or so, has been, just whether it be on the defensive side or the offensive side, the depth, the layers of quality players. I mean, we see spurts here and there, whether it be, Tyler Mott tonight, but really, for the most part, the Lightning have struggled all season long with this. And I'm going to talk more about this tomorrow, because we're going to do kind of a special segment tomorrow where it's just going to be trade target Friday, or whatever name you want to call it. Really, we're just going to have a whole show dedicated to trades. And the list that we put out, our trade deadline target list. We posted it to Twitter. We posted it to Discord. It's on Reddit. I'll post it below the episode. We'll post it below the episode tomorrow. Um, but when we look at that list, um, that we have, these are the players. These are players that are very good. These are players that really, in reality, are, if they're being brought in, especially on the forward side, they will be playing on the third line, and maybe like a guy like Chafee, who has, not really a lot of time at the NHL level. He'll be moved down to the fourth line. Barre Boulet is gone after today, really. He was put on waivers. He's probably going to, I believe he's probably going to clear, and then be sent to Syracuse. And then, we'll get into all that other stuff there with all the some of the other players in the bottom lines. I mean, Sherry has just been very disappointing this year. I mean, really, I stated it on the last episode, after the second line, really for the most part, once you get past Nick, Paul, and, on some nights, Mikey Esima, the Lightning really don't have much. They brought up Cole Kiepke today for the game. And Glenn Denning, was on that fourth line as well. But like I said, there's really not much there for this team. The Lightning really, at the end of the day, because I would imagine what's going to happen, if a deal were to be made at the trade deadline for one of the players that are on our list, and I'm not going to talk about them until tomorrow. So, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait. But once a move is made at the deadline, Chafee, I would assume, goes down to the third line, and whatever player is brought in will be playing on that second line. I would imagine that, maybe if possible, Connor Sheary will be traded away at the deadline. I don't really know what kind of value in terms of a return you're going to get back for him. But at the same time, you look at, like I said, the fourth line is kind of a crapshoot. Glenn Denning, he's played well at the center position this year, but really, other than that, what other value does he really add to this team, to where we could look at this Lightning team and really be confident about, their depth and how deep they are? Because really, like I said on the last episode, and, it doesn't even have to pertain to the playoffs. You saw it tonight. I mean, this team is not deep. After their first two lines, it really kind of takes a downward slope from there. And I think that at the end of the day, I think really that's really what teams are really exploiting, and something that really needs to be explored for the Lightning at the trade deadline. It does. There obviously is a missing piece from that third line. Tanner Jeannot, he's been out for a while. Say what you want about Tanner Jeannot. This team, at least the line that he plays on, they do play quite a little. This team is a lot more successful, or exponentially looks better, whether it be on the ice or on paper, when Tanner Jeannot is in the lineup. You definitely don't have Mitchell Chafee on the second line, which is still like a wild thing to even read. That was from our boy Chris Kren. That was the source for this. But at the end of the day, the Lightning need to be better on the third and fourth lines. This is kind of almost a identical problem to 2020 and 2021. We need to see better out of those later spots, those later lines in the game, because at that point you're just going to see matchup problems, because all it takes is for an opposing team to roll out their first line against your their first line against your third or even your fourth, and it's game over from there. So yeah, disappointing night. The Lightning were very much exposed in a lot of aspects of this game, as well as with their roster. Like I said, I do take the injuries and illnesses into account. The Lightning were very shorthanded on the defensive side of things tonight, but still, you can't excuse neutral zone turnovers. You can't excuse just lack of creativity. And this team needs to be better, and they need to figure it out right away. And I've been saying that for the last three games, especially after the loss to the Panthers. But not an easy road coming up, like I said. They got the Islanders on Saturday afternoon in New York. They got the Devils in New Jersey on Sunday, so back to back there, and then you're on the road a little bit more. You're going to Philly, so three really crucial matchups. If the Lightning lose those two games to the Islanders and the Devils, the wild card chase is going to be a lot more difficult because all you're doing is giving those teams more fuel to the fire to make a run. And I fully expect them to win one of those two of the back to back. If they don't, I mean, do we start talking about selling at that point? Let's not get dramatic here, but we'll keep talking about that stuff. We'll be back tomorrow talking about our trade target list that we put out earlier today. If you haven't seen that, we put it on Reddit. It's on Twitter, LO_Lightning on Twitter. Put it on our Twitter page. Follow me on Twitter at DenkyDenk, DENKYD8NK. And we'll be back tomorrow, like I said, talking trades, talking trade targets, and hopefully we could, somehow manifest a win in this upcoming weekend. So in the meantime, that's been it for this episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Danker. I'll talk to you in the next one.